Mark Hill from Greenlees. So I thought I'd do a quick review of the literature that's come through my letterbox here in Calder Valley, which is in West Yorkshire and the Pennines. So quite a bit of stuff from the Liberal Democrats. And there's no mucking around. They think that Brexit is a disaster, and I've got to vote for this guy Javed Bashir as my chance to stop Brexit. It's very much pointed to those people that are ultimately Remainists, that is, not just Remainers, but people who want to see the referendum decision overturned, which isn't all Remainers. So they're appealing very strongly to that element of the 48% that's determined not to change its mind. Okay, all very well and good. They got about 1,500, I think it was, votes in my constituency in the last election. I have had an awful lot of literature from this guy Josh Fenton Glynn of the Labour Party. Now, Josh, in his literature, scarcely mentions Brexit. There is this one paragraph here which talks about Labour's job is to heal the divisions and find a way forward that protects these rights, by which they mean the European Union's right to set workers' rights and environmental standards rather than us setting those for ourselves. Josh is an Remain field officer during the 2016 referendum, but you wouldn't know that from the stuff that you see here, because really there is very little mention in any of the leaflets about leaving the EU. It just sort of talks airily about a divided Britain. It's a very close race, or at least what it was in 2017, between this guy and the incumbent Conservative MP, Craig Whitaker, who is a government whip. It does talk about green issues, which is lovely. Only on this one here, this card here, does it mention give you the final say on Brexit. Now, what give you the final say on Brexit means, of course, is second referendum. A second referendum that could easily be loaded. That is a loaded question, a question that has a deal that most Leavers don't really want, versus Remain, which was, of course, I would say, dismissed as an option by the 2016 referendum. So that's the Labour Party. Now, this is an intriguing little leaflet. This has come through from an outfit called the Liberal Party, who are the Little Liberals, the Liberal Party that was left behind when the Liberal Democrats was formed from the old Liberal Party and the Social Democrats. And although their vote is pretty tiny, in many ways there's an awful lot there that we could agree on, particularly their call for a green energy policy. And then, yes, it supports the referendum and will deliver Brexit. So this is a curious thing. This is a liberal electoral vehicle that supports Brexit. And then finally, I've got this thing from, purportedly from Boris Johnson himself. He seems to have signed it, but I think it's actually really from the local Craig Whitaker electoral machine. There really is. There are no pictures, there's no gloss, it's very simple. It talks about the Brexit deal, which is ready to go, and it thinks about it in terms of the Brexit deal negotiated between Boris Johnson and the EU before he called the general election. And he talks of something which is going to be very prompt. And then he talks about extra public funding. But this is brief. This is brief, and yet this is also elaborate. What does this tell you? It tells me that although the Labour Party is going hell for leather for this seat, it appears the Conservatives, because this is the only literature I've had from them, the Conservatives don't really care, or they are working in a different way than the Labour Party when it comes to dishing out leaflets and gear and trying to persuade people. Perhaps they're doing more in the way of phone canvassing, but I have to say to you, I haven't had a canvasser or a phone call from the Tories. I have had a canvasser from the Labour Party. what really strikes me is the difference in perspective between the four political parties I've just shown you, their way of reflecting Brexit. Despite all the literature from the Labour Party, I've had very little in the way of message from them about how the Labour Party intends to deal with the problem that has actually caused this general election to be called. Meanwhile, we've had lots of stuff from all of the other parties, including this bizarre little outfit. So, what to do? It looks to me like Calder Valley, despite all the leaflets I'm receiving from the Labour Party, is actually likely to re-elect this guy again. Craig Whitaker in Calder Valley. And that's probably why the Conservatives haven't put out much literature, because actually they don't fear the Labour Party. The Labour Party is putting up a good show, but ultimately the national swing against them will prevent them from taking this marginal seat in 2019.